Joseph Nye, a towering intellectual in international relations, has truly revolutionized how we perceive the power dynamics of the world stage. Have you ever considered that nations could wield influence without force, without coercion? That's the essence of Nye's groundbreaking concept, soft power. Imagine a world where attraction and persuasion, driven by cultural values and ethical principles, replace military might and coercive tactics. It sounds almost utopian, doesn't it? But Nye's work is more than just theory, it's a vision that has reshaped global diplomacy in the 21st century. Let's dive into this captivating idea and discover its deeper layers. The brilliance of Nye's concept isn't just limited to politics or military strategies. No. He goes further, much further, by exploring the moral dimension of influence. Have you ever wondered what role compassion, nonviolence, and ethical governance might play in international relations? That's where Nye takes us next. And here's where the story takes an even more profound turn, the intersection of Buddhist values and soft power. Wow! What an incredible fusion of ideas. In a world that often seems dominated by economic and military force, Nye's soft power offers a beacon of hope. It's a call for nations to focus on attraction rather than coercion, on values rather than brute strength. And what better values to guide this new approach than those found in Buddhism? Compassion, karu, and nonviolence, ahis, are at the heart of this philosophy. And they have the power to reshape how nations interact with one another. Can you imagine a world where these values dominate international relations? Nye believes it's possible, and his work shows us the way. The soul of soft power, attraction over coercion. What is soft power? At its core, it's the ability to influence others not by force but by making them want what you want. Doesn't that sound almost magical? But it's not magic, it's the power of attraction. Nye defines soft power as a nation's ability to shape the preferences of others through appeal, admiration, and respect, rather than through coercion or financial incentives. It's about making others desire what you offer because they trust and admire you. Could there be a more peaceful way to build influence? But here's the twist, soft power isn't just about making a nation look good. No, it's about deep, moral leadership. Nye shows us that soft power comes from three main sources: a nation's culture, its political values, and its foreign policies, when they are seen as legitimate and morally sound. It's not enough to just have a great culture or strong institutions. A nation's soft power grows when it is perceived as acting ethically, compassionately, and in the interest of the global community. What a profound idea. Now, let's connect this to Buddhist values. Imagine a nation that embodies the principles of compassion and nonviolence. Wouldn't that nation inspire trust and admiration? Of course. Compassion in Buddhism isn't just a passive feeling. It's an active force that guides behavior and seeks to alleviate the suffering of others. What if countries operated like this in their diplomacy? Can you imagine the peaceful solutions that could arise? Similarly, nonviolence in Buddhism is about more than just avoiding harm. It's a rejection of harmful intentions and aggressive behaviors, even in subtle forms like verbal or psychological violence. What if this became the norm in global diplomacy? The possibilities are breathtaking. Compassion and nonviolence, the true strength of soft power. Joseph Nye, in his work, emphasizes the incredible importance of moral authority in international diplomacy. Have you ever thought about how much easier it is to trust a leader or a country when they embody ethical values? Leaders who are seen as compassionate, fair, and nonviolent naturally attract the trust and cooperation of others. In today's world, where we are more connected than ever, soft power reinforced by moral leadership becomes an indispensable tool for any nation looking to navigate the complexities of international relations. In Buddhism, compassion, karu, is more than a feeling. It's a guiding principle that influences every action, thought, and word. What if nations adopted this same principle? Imagine countries actively working to reduce the suffering of others. Not just within their own borders but around the globe. Nye shows us that compassion, when incorporated into foreign policy, can dramatically enhance a country's soft power. Think about humanitarian aid, disaster relief, and international health initiatives. These are all expressions of compassion that make a country more attractive to global partners. And who wouldn't want to cooperate with a nation that shows such care for others? Nonviolence, ahis, another cornerstone of Buddhist philosophy, is equally powerful as a diplomatic tool. Nye's concept of soft power fits perfectly here. Nonviolence isn't just about avoiding physical conflict, it's about rejecting harmful actions in all forms. What if states embraced this approach in their dealings with one another? Diplomacy, dialogue, and mutual understanding would replace force and coercion. Isn't that what we all hope for in international relations? Nations that demonstrate a commitment to nonviolence build trust, foster goodwill, and create a sense of stability, qualities that make it easier to build long-lasting alliances. An example of this in action can be seen in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN. Have you ever wondered how ASEAN maintains peace in such a diverse region? ASEAN operates on principles of consensus building and non-interference in the internal affairs of its member states. Doesn't that sound familiar? It mirrors Buddhist ideals of respect, peaceful dialogue, and cooperation. While ASEAN's model has its limitations, it has been largely successful in maintaining peace and fostering cooperation in a region marked by vast religious, political, and economic diversity. How inspiring is that? Soft power, a force that builds over time. Nye's concept of soft power is fascinating because it works slowly, but its effects are profound. Have you ever noticed how some of the most powerful ideas don't change things overnight but gradually seep into the collective consciousness? Soft power works in a similar way. It may not bring immediate results, but over time, its influence can be transformative. Just think of the Berlin Wall. It didn't come down because of military force but because of ideas and values that slowly penetrated the hearts and minds of people, inspiring them to challenge the status quo. Isn't that incredible? Compassion and nonviolence, when integrated into soft power, can have the same long-term effects. They might not solve a diplomatic crisis overnight, but over time, they can foster an environment of trust, cooperation, and peace. Nye shows us that in the long run, the principles of compassion and nonviolence can reshape the behavior of both states and individuals, steering them toward more peaceful and constructive outcomes. Isn't that the kind of world we all want to live in? Soft power in action. How it's changing the world. Nye's reflections on soft power aren't just academic musings, they have real-world applications. Have you ever considered how nations like the United States or China use their cultural influence to project soft power on the world stage? It's fascinating to think about, isn't it? But here's where things get even more interesting. Soft power isn't limited to Western powers. In fact, Nye himself was surprised at how widely the concept of soft power has been adopted across different political systems. Isn't it remarkable to think that a concept that started in the West could find resonance across the globe? Take China, for example. In 2007, President Hu Jintao made a surprising statement. He emphasized the need for China to invest in soft power as a way to enhance its global standing. What a shift in strategy! China's recognition of the importance of cultural influence, rather than just economic or military power, speaks volumes about the growing relevance of Nye's ideas. Isn't it amazing to see how soft power is shaping the strategies of one of the world's most powerful nations? But it doesn't stop there. Buddhist values, especially in non-Western contexts, have shown themselves to be powerful drivers of soft power. Take Japan, for instance. Did you know that Japan has leveraged its rich cultural heritage, deeply influenced by Buddhist aesthetics and ethics, as a key part of its soft power strategy? How incredible is that? By emphasizing its cultural contributions, such as Zen gardens, tea ceremonies, and even anime, Japan has built a global image of peace, mindfulness, and artistic excellence. It's no wonder that Japan continues to be one of the most admired nations in the world. Then there's Bhutan, a small Himalayan kingdom with an outsized impact on the global stage. Have you ever heard of Bhutan's emphasis on gross national happiness? Instead of focusing on material wealth, Bhutan prioritizes the well-being of its people, drawing heavily on Buddhist values of compassion and mindfulness. This approach has become a form of soft power in itself, attracting global admiration and attention. Isn't it incredible to think that a country so small could have such a profound influence? India's legacy of non-violence, a soft power giant, India offers yet another remarkable example of soft power rooted in Buddhist values, particularly through the legacy of Mahatma Gandhi. How could we talk about non-violence and not mention Gandhi? His life and work are a shining example of how moral leadership can reshape the world. Gandhi, deeply influenced by both Hinduism and Buddhism, championed non-violence, ahimsa, in his struggle for India's independence. But his influence didn't stop at India's borders. Isn't it astonishing to think about how Gandhi's philosophy of non-violence has inspired countless movements worldwide, from Martin Luther King Jr.'s civil rights activism in the United States to Nelson Mandela's fight against apartheid in South Africa? Gandhi's legacy is everywhere. His advocacy for non-violence and moral leadership continues to inspire movements for justice and equality across the globe. Can you imagine the world without Gandhi's influence? Nye's concept of soft power, especially when infused with ethical principles like non-violence, shows us that moral leadership can indeed change the course of history. What a powerful reminder that ideas, when rooted in compassion and non-violence, can shape the world in ways that military force never could. Soft power as a bridge between cultures. One of the most beautiful aspects of Joseph Nye's soft power concept is how it serves as a bridge between different cultures. Think about it. Soft power is not just about political or economic influence, it's about sharing the very essence of a nation's identity with the world. Culture, values, and ideals become the tools for building connections across borders. Isn't that amazing? In a world often divided by conflict and misunderstanding, soft power offers a way to bring people together, fostering mutual respect and admiration. Let's take a closer look at Japan once again. Japan's use of cultural diplomacy is a prime example of soft power in action. The country's centuries-old traditions, such as Zen Buddhism, ikebana, flower arranging, and the art of tea, have captivated global audiences for decades. What's remarkable is how Japan has used these peaceful, contemplative practices, many of which are deeply influenced by Buddhist thought, as a way to project its values of mindfulness, harmony, and simplicity. Isn't it fascinating how something as simple as a tea ceremony can become a symbol of a nation's philosophy of life? But here's the deeper connection. Japan's embrace of Zen Buddhism as part of its cultural identity has allowed it to shape global perceptions in a profound way. Zen, with its focus on meditation, mindfulness, and living in the present, has resonated far beyond Japan's shores. It has become a global phenomenon, with millions of people around the world embracing Zen principles to find peace in their daily lives. Can you imagine how powerful that is? Japan's influence in this area is not a result of economic or military might. It's the soft power of cultural and spiritual ideals that has captured the hearts and minds of people worldwide. Now, consider how Nye's soft power theory interacts with this. Japan's global influence, derived from its culture, political values, and peaceful international stance, exemplifies the very core of Nye's ideas. By promoting values of mindfulness, simplicity, and respect for nature, Japan has fostered a positive global image that goes beyond material wealth or strategic alliances. It's about fostering genuine human connection. Isn't that what we're all yearning for in today's world? The role of ethics in soft power, a path forward. Let's shift gears a bit and dive deeper into the moral dimension of soft power. When Joseph Nye emphasizes the importance of ethical values in international diplomacy, he's not just talking about abstract concepts. No, he's talking about the very principles that can make or break a nation's reputation in the global arena. Have you ever wondered why some nations inspire admiration, while others are viewed with suspicion? It often boils down to moral authority. Nations that act with integrity, compassion, and fairness are far more likely to earn the respect of others. This is where soft power shines, but how do Buddhist values tie into this? Compassion and nonviolence are not just personal virtues, they are also political tools that can guide a nation's foreign policy. Imagine a world where governments acted not out of self-interest but out of a genuine desire to reduce suffering and promote peace. Nye's framework allows us to envision such a world. And when we bring Buddhist values into the equation, we get an even clearer picture of how this could work. Compassion in foreign policy means more than just offering aid or making diplomatic gestures. It means understanding the suffering of others and actively working to alleviate it. When countries make decisions based on compassion, they don't just win admiration, they build trust. And trust is the foundation of any successful relationship, whether it's between individuals or nations. Isn't that a powerful idea? Nye's soft power framework, when combined with Buddhist compassion, offers a path forward for nations seeking to build lasting, meaningful alliances. Nonviolence, too, plays a critical role. In the world of international relations, where conflicts often seem inevitable, what would happen if nations embraced nonviolence as a guiding principle? Could it be that the path to peace lies not in military deterrence but in the rejection of violence in all its forms? Nye's concept of soft power suggests that this is possible. By promoting nonviolence, nations can signal their commitment to peaceful resolution of disputes, creating an environment of stability and predictability in international relations. Doesn't that sound like the kind of world we want to live in? The long game, how soft power works over time. One of the most intriguing aspects of soft power is its gradual, cumulative effect. Have you ever noticed how some of the most significant changes in history don't happen overnight but unfold slowly, almost imperceptibly? That's how soft power works. It's not a quick fix, it's a long-term strategy that shapes perceptions, builds trust, and creates alliances over time. In a sense, it's like planting seeds. You may not see the results right away, but eventually, those seeds grow into something much larger. And when you add Buddhist values into the mix, the potential for lasting, positive change becomes even greater. Consider the impact of nonviolent movements throughout history. Gandhi's campaign for Indian independence, Martin Luther King Jr.'s fight for civil rights, and Nelson Mandela's struggle against apartheid, these were not victories won by force. No, these were moral victories, achieved through the power of ideas, ethics, and perseverance. Isn't it remarkable how soft power, guided by moral leadership, can reshape societies and even entire nations? What if we applied the same principles to international diplomacy? Nye's concept of soft power suggests that by promoting ideas, values, and culture, nations can gradually change the global landscape. And when these ideas are rooted in compassion and nonviolence, the results can be profound. It may take time, perhaps years, even decades, but the influence of soft power, when aligned with ethical leadership, is undeniable. What a hopeful vision for the future. Buddhist values in diplomacy, a global case study. Let's take a closer look at how Buddhist values, particularly compassion and nonviolence, have been applied in the world of international diplomacy. We've already touched on Japan and Bhutan, but there are other examples where Buddhist principles have played a crucial role in shaping global relations. One of the most striking examples is the role of Buddhism in Southeast Asian diplomacy, particularly within the framework of ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations. ASEAN is a fascinating case study in soft power. Have you ever wondered how such a diverse region, comprising countries with vastly different political systems, religious backgrounds, and economic conditions, manages to maintain peace and cooperation? The answer lies, in part, in the Buddhist values that underpin much of the region's diplomatic culture. Consensus building, non-interference, and respect for sovereignty are all key principles of ASEAN diplomacy, and they resonate strongly with Buddhist ideals of mutual respect and peaceful dialogue. Isn't that incredible? What's even more fascinating is that ASEAN's model of diplomacy is not based on force or coercion but on soft power. By prioritizing dialogue and cooperation, ASEAN has managed to navigate some of the most complex and sensitive issues in the region. While it's not a perfect system, it's one that has allowed the nations of Southeast Asia to avoid large-scale conflict and foster economic and political collaboration. And the influence of Buddhist values, particularly the emphasis on compassion and nonviolence, cannot be underestimated here. Can you imagine how different the world might look if more regions adopted this approach? Compassion in action, humanitarian aid and international relations. Let's talk about how compassion can be a powerful tool in international relations. Nye's concept of soft power, when aligned with compassion, can transform how nations engage with one another, especially in times of crisis. Humanitarian aid, for instance, is one of the most visible expressions of compassion in the global arena. When a nation steps in to provide aid during a natural disaster, a health crisis, or a conflict, it sends a powerful message: we care. And that message can have long-lasting effects on international relations. Think about it. When countries offer help in times of need, they are not just addressing immediate suffering. They are building goodwill and trust for the future. Nye points out that this is one of the most effective ways to enhance a nation's soft power. But here's where the Buddhist value of compassion comes into play. What if nations didn't just offer aid as a strategic tool but as a genuine expression of concern for the well-being of others? Wouldn't that have an even greater impact? Take, for example, the international response to the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. Nations from around the world rushed to provide aid to the affected countries, including Indonesia, Thailand, and Sri Lanka, nations with significant Buddhist populations. The outpouring of compassion was overwhelming, and it strengthened diplomatic ties in ways that might not have been possible through traditional diplomacy. Compassion, in this case, became a powerful form of soft power, helping to build bridges between nations in a time of need. Isn't that a beautiful example of how soft power and Buddhist values can work together to create positive change? Nonviolence in diplomacy, a lesson from history. Now, let's turn our attention to nonviolence. Can you imagine a world where conflicts are resolved not through force but through dialogue and mutual understanding? It may sound idealistic, but history has shown us that nonviolent approaches can be incredibly effective. Gandhi's nonviolent struggle for Indian independence is perhaps the most famous example, but there are many others. And what's fascinating is that these nonviolent movements have often had a far-reaching impact on international relations. Even beyond the countries where they originated, one of the most compelling examples of nonviolence in diplomacy is the role it played in the Cold War. Have you ever considered how the Berlin Wall came down? It wasn't because of military action. It was because of the power of ideas, values, and moral leadership. Over time, the principles of nonviolence and peaceful protest, championed by figures like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., inspired people across Eastern Europe to challenge the oppressive regimes that ruled them. Isn't it remarkable how the soft power of ethical leadership can lead to such profound change? Nye's concept of soft power fits perfectly with this historical lesson. By promoting nonviolence as a guiding principle, nations can foster goodwill and trust, even in the most challenging of circumstances. And when nonviolence is combined with compassionate leadership, the results can be transformative. Just think about the role of nonviolence in conflict resolution and peace negotiations today. Whether it's in the Middle East, Africa, or Asia, nonviolent diplomacy offers a way to resolve disputes without resorting to force. Isn't that the kind of world we all want to live in, the future of soft power, a Buddhist-inspired vision? As we look to the future, it's clear that soft power, especially when infused with Buddhist values, has the potential to reshape global diplomacy. In a world that often seems dominated by economic and military power, the ethical dimension of soft power offers a refreshing alternative. Can you imagine a future where compassion and nonviolence guide the decisions of world leaders? It may sound like a dream, but Nye's work shows us that it's possible. Conclusion: the transformative power of soft power and Buddhist values, Joseph Nye's revolutionary concept of soft power, when coupled with the profound teachings of Buddhism, offers an inspiring and transformative vision for the future of international relations. Have you ever paused to think about the kind of world we could live in if compassion and nonviolence were at the heart of global diplomacy? What a breathtaking possibility! Nye has given us the framework, and Buddhism provides the ethical foundation. Together, they show us that nations don't need to rely on coercion, military force, or financial dominance to influence others. Instead, they can lead by example, through appeal, admiration, and respect. Imagine a world where trust, compassion, and moral leadership become the guiding principles of international engagement. Wouldn't that be incredible? Soft power, when aligned with Buddhist values of karu, compassion, and ahimsa, nonviolence, creates a path for nations to foster long-lasting, positive relationships without resorting to force. It's a vision of diplomacy that prioritizes mutual respect, dialogue, and peaceful conflict resolution. And isn't that exactly what we need in today's increasingly interconnected, yet divided, world? What stands out most in Nye's theory is its emphasis on long-term influence. It reminds us that the most significant changes don't happen overnight. Just like planting seeds, the fruits of soft power may take time to grow, but when they do, the results are enduring. Compassion and nonviolence, when practiced consistently, have the power to subtly, yet profoundly, shift the global landscape toward peace and cooperation. Aren't these the values we want our leaders to champion, whether it's Japan leveraging its cultural heritage or ASEAN fostering peace through consensus building? The real-world examples of soft power in action are both inspiring and eye-opening. They show us that it's possible to build influence through ethical leadership. And as we've seen from history, nonviolent movements, from Gandhi to the fall of the Berlin Wall, prove that soft power, guided by moral principles, can change the course of history. Isn't that an incredibly hopeful thought? So, where do we go from here? As the world faces growing global challenges, from climate change to economic inequality, it's clear that soft power, underpinned by ethical values, is more essential than ever. The future of diplomacy must embrace compassion and nonviolence not just as ideals but as practical tools for building a more peaceful and harmonious world. Joseph Nye's soft power framework, when enriched with the timeless wisdom of Buddhist values, shows us the way. What a powerful, transformative vision to carry forward. Could this be the future we're all hoping for? Absolutely.